Today on the show, our Club Spotlight returns. It's a series where we do a deep dive into a club's history, its culture, its current situation and performance. But for the World Cup, we're doing a special edition series, which we look at all the debutantes to the tournament. We got 4 of them. We've done Curaçao. We've got Uzbekistan and Jordan coming up. But now it's the heroes who earned a 0-0 draw in their first ever World Cup match against the mighty Spain. The favorites coming into the tournament. It is the island nation, the African island nation of Cabo Verde. Live from San Jose, California, and Chicago, Illinois. I almost said Brooklyn, New York. It's the Any Given Thursday podcast. I forgot where I am. And as you heard at the top of the show, it's our famed Club Spotlight series, renowned across the wide world of sport. All that to say, David's going to do a killer job of telling you all about Cabo Verde and their football. Take it away, David.
So Cabo Verde, formerly known as Cape Verde, but we said, hey, it's really weird that we're translating one of these words and not the other. Let's just not translate either, and let's call them what they call themselves. Yeah.
Or in Cabo England, Verde, they say Cape Verde. They don't even bother saying the E because they're dicks.
Yeah, and
they don't even try.
Here in America, we're just much more accepting of other cultures, and we're much more international. That's our whole shtick as a country, right? Yes,
I agree.
Yes. But
no notes.
They're one of the 4 debutantes coming out of AFCON, or
debutantes.
Probably easier to say coming out of Africa, making their debut at the World Cup. And as Max mentioned, they got the 0-0 draw with Spain in their first game. A great result, historic for the nation, and really looking forward to being able to kind of talk about them a little more now that we know some stuff about them as well. We got to see them in action already at the World Cup. So looking forward to it. It's a pretty new country, relatively speaking. Didn't have independence until 1973. Didn't even have people until 1456.
No people?
No people. Uninhabited island. It's one of the...
Sick.
Yeah. One of the actual uninhabited islands that were populated because of colonialism.
Slavery.
Yay. No, we want to boo that.
But slavery.
Yeah.
Slavery.
It was a archipelago of volcanic islands off the west coast of Africa. Closest other countries would be Senegal and Gambia. So it's kind of, if you start from Senegal, just go straight west. Eventually you'll run into the Cabo Verde Islands. Founded by Portugal, 1456. They were going to Africa for naughty reasons, and they found these islands and said, hey, why don't we stop here for a little bit?
Sidebar, Portugal doesn't get enough shit for their colonial stuff. You know what I mean? We're rightfully on England, Spain, as France as well, the Dutch, even the Belgians, and like in South Africa and West Africa. Why don't the Portuguese get any guff for this? They were the first ones.
Yeah. They were arguably...
They started this.
Arguably the worst ones, too.
They started this.
Yeah. Anyway, it kind of grew as a slave port and stopping port for the transatlantic slave trade. So, again, kind of naughty reasons. But they did rebel against Portugal eventually. 1961. Took them a while, about 20 years, for conflict to die down. But they've been pretty stable ever since then. I was actually surprised just because I didn't know that much about them, but in pretty much all the positive things, they rank like right up with the top of the other countries in Africa. So in terms of economic development, the like whole freedom ranking, economic prosperity, GDP per capita, they're doing very well in Africa. So pretty largely tourism-based country, though, as you'd expect from an island nation. I mean, it looks beautiful. I'd love to visit. So
it's a pretty short flight from the East Coast. Maybe we should go.
Yeah. I'd have to fly to the East Coast first, but yeah.
It sucks to suck.
You can go catch a game.
Sucks to suck, man.
Yeah.
Maybe Bubista will charter you a flight.
Oh, That would be pretty cool. Maybe if he listens to this podcast and he's like, wow, these guys know my team better than I do.
These guys know ball.
Yeah. But it's a small country. Population is still under 500,000. So naturally, national team, not a lot of success. It's largely been in the last about 10 to 15 years that they've kind of taken a big step forward. And that's been because they've been really recruiting from the diaspora. A lot of the players on this current squad born outside of Cabo Verde, born in European countries for the most part, but also a couple in the Americas and other parts of Africa as well. They made AFCON for the first time in 2013 and have made 3 appearances since then. They actually went to the quarterfinals in 2013 and recently in 2023. So they have some kind of groundwork laid before this World Cup run, which has obviously been another huge step forward for success with the national team. And it's currently being led by, as you mentioned, Bubista, Pedro Leitao Brito. I had to look up his actual name.
Oh. He has another name? I thought his name was Bubista.
Only knew him as Bubista.
Is that a nickname?
Yeah, it's like I assume it's from the same tradition that like Brazil has, where...
Yeah, it's a Portuguese language thing.
Yeah, where you take like the mononym nicknames, like Ronaldinho. Bubista is to Ronaldinho as Cape Verde is to Brazil.
Bubista is Ronaldinho in some ways.
Yeah, except he was a center back and now is a good manager. And I don't think Ronaldinho has Ronaldinho managed? I don't think so.
No, he's back playing again in like the 4th tier in Brazil. He's 46.
No. In Italy, with Ravenna.
Oh, in Italy. I'm sorry. I saw Serie D and assumed he meant Brazil.
Yeah, you would think. It would make more sense, but no, yeah. He's probably,
fascinating.
I mean, at least age-wise, he fits with the Italian teams.
Sure.
Yeah. But Bubista's been in charge. Yeah, Bubista's been in charge since 2020, kind of led this current iteration of the Blue Sharks, as they're known. It's a great nickname for a national team. I love that one.
It's a really good one.
Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about their play style and some key players so that if you watch their second and third games at the World Cup, you can be tuned in. You can say, hey, I think they're going to play this way. They pride themselves on being very difficult to break down and very disciplined in defense. I think we saw that against Spain. They had, I believe, only 1 foul the whole game against a team that was constantly on the attack against them, which is really, really impressive. They are very composed, very structured defensively, and I think probably tie that back to Bubista's playing days as a center back. You know, he's someone who takes defending very seriously. He wants to set this team up. And they don't just defend at the back. They do a lot of high pressing as well, a lot of zonal pressing at the top. So they kind of look to force teams out wide. They're not going to let them play through the middle against them. And it worked really well against Spain because it gives them time by forcing them out wide to shift back into their normal defensive formation, which will usually be a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, depending on who they have available and who they're playing. So it's very structured defense. They like the high press with either 2 or 3 players, force you wide instead of maybe trying to force a turnover. You know, if they get a turnover, that's great, but the goal of the press is to slow you down, force you wide so that you can't play right through them. Let themselves get back into their shape. And then going forward, which we haven't seen a lot of yet in this competition, the key is the fullbacks, right? They like to move through the midfield in the early phases, shift the ball out to the wings once possession is established, and their wingers love to cut inside. Both sides are going to be looking to cut inside, creating almost a front 5 with the fullbacks engaged that far forward. So the wingers are looking to score, the fullbacks are the ones looking to put in crosses. And it worked really well in AFCON qualifying. We just, Spain kept the ball.
Not really an opportunity to to showcase.
Spain kept the ball pretty much the entire time. So, it's hard to...
I think Spain had over 80% possession in that game.
I think it was
a real,
Because
it ended 78.
Yeah.
They got some at the end.
I believe it was the highest possession any team has had at a World Cup without scoring.
Yeah, very Spain stat that. I think what was so impressive about that Spanish performance was like to commit to that rigidity and how deep they were is one thing. To so rarely lose focus on the shape and body placement and the runs in behind and all of that. To have such a handle on that for 95 plus minutes without the usual mental lapse you'll see was kind of astounding. Like it just takes an absurd amount of mental focus, let alone the amount of running you have to do side by side. I think the only player that, once Yamal came on, it was a different story, of course. But for most of the first half, like Cucurella looked like Spain's only really dangerous player. He was kind of sneaking in behind in those wide areas, and that's without Yamal or Nico Williams out there, Spain doesn't have people that in the same way that can beat you from with, and that played to their advantage. But I came away very impressed. I think the other thing though that I think people watched the Curaçao game, and like Curaçao is a solid team for CONCACAF, but playing a team like Germany, really quite up against it. They have, solid players, but I think people maybe associated them in Cabo Verde in their heads a little too much and kind of treated Cabo Verde entering that game in a similar fashion. And I think that discounted, the rigors of AFCON that they've been put through in African qualifying, which is even with these added spots, incredibly competitive. Nigeria didn't make it. Cameroon didn't make it. There's no
Cameroon
Ethiopia.
Didn't make it because of Cape Verde.
Exactly.
And Cameroon, it's a very solid team, a team you would expect to be World Cup. And Cape Verde, I believe they beat them both times. No, I'm sorry. They lost the away game. I apologize. So Cape Verde, they definitely deserve to be here. And I wonder if it's just because they're island nations that are small and have blue in their flag.
Blue?
Yeah.
And names with blue as well.
Yeah. And both names start with C, so.
And they played close apart. I can see why. I just think coming out of African qualifying and a CONCACAF qualifying without the three best nations, and CONCACAF they're just very different things. And the rigors that they underwent to get here should not be disrespected.
Yeah, and Cape Verde, they only lost one time in the 10 games during qualifiers that they played. They scored in all but one game, which was the first game against Angola. So even though they rarely managed to pile up the goals, right, they were scoring under 2 goals a game, so not super free-flowing, but consistently able to create something. And I think that's a really big thing to look for as we go forward, where they're able to get on the ball a little more, because they're not going to be playing Spain every game, is that the attack isn't going to wow you, but it is going to be effective. They will get things done. And it kind of ties me into one of the players I wanted to mention, Ryan Mendes, who's the right winger for this team, who plays for İktir FK in Turkey. He made his 99th appearance for Cape Verde against Spain. He's the most capped player in national team history. He's also the top scorer in national team history. He is, I think, without a doubt, the key attacking piece for this team, right? He is a great goal threat as an inverted winger on the right side. He's really good at passing because he can drop into the midfield sometimes, which they don't ask him to do a lot, but you can see it if you watch his highlights from his club appearances, that he is very good at kind of dropping deeper, creating from both the wings and the central midfield position. So he's a very versatile attacker who can be a goal threat as well. And he's going to be the key for them if they're able to get on the score sheet in these next 2 games.
I think they have a solid shot too. They do have some. It's not like most of their players are playing at insanely high level. They for one, we should talk very briefly about Vozinha, their 40-year-old keeper, plays for Chaves in the 2nd division of Portugal. but he only had 19 appearances for them last season. So he's not even like a regular starter anymore. It makes sense. He's super old. He wasn't even, I don't think, professional until his mid-20s. So he's had quite the journey. He spent a long time in Cyprus, actually. And of course, after keeping a clean sheet against Spain, he gained like 13 million Instagram followers in 24 hours, something insane.
Yeah, he's now like one of the most followed athletes in the world.
Yeah, he's set for life. He's literally, I mean, from endorsements he can make from that, like he's good. His family's set for life. A crazy World Cup story.
And he normally works during the summer.
Finally got his mom over here. He normally works during the summer.
You know, like,
oh my, what does he do?
He was like, it was like a volleyball or surfing instructor, something like that, that he was not able to do. It was like a very stereotypical, like, he is from an island type of employment, right? Like working with people.
Fantastic.
But.
And all the rounds are going about Roberto Pico Lopez as well, now famously recruited through LinkedIn. I just want to point out that in our coverage of Shamrock Rovers in the Conference League, we have mentioned this all the way back last fall in 2025.
We were on this story when it just broke. Yeah.
I mean, he's been playing for a while with the national team, but since 2021, I don't think we were on it from that far back. But it was about at least a year ago.
He was playing Shamrock qualified for Europe that year, so we might have mentioned it in 2021.
Maybe we did.
Yeah. We need to keep a track of all of our stories that will eventually get bigger, so we can
go check the tape. That's a pretty big one for us. I'm pretty chuffed about that. But yeah, recruited over LinkedIn via Portuguese, didn't speak Portuguese, ignored it, thought it was spam. And then I got him again a year later.
I need to check my LinkedIn messages. So
yeah, it's still cracking on for Shamrock too. He's been playing at the club since 2017. He has 1 billion appearances for that club, and
he almost left the sport before he signed for Shamrock, because he was at Bohemians and was on like a semi-pro contract at the time, and was considering going back into banking because he'd been involved in that during his off time. But got the move to Shamrock and was able to become a full professional, and it's one of those great stories you see coming out of the World Cup and coming out of the competitions that we love, like the Europa League and the Conference League. Some of these stories that are just, it's such a different world from the Lamine Yamals and the Erling Haalands, who are playing at this top level from such a young age and developed within the game. And having these different stories all come together at the World Cup is one of the things that makes it so great.
I don't know if this is something you know, but does the Cape Verdean diaspora, is there something about them in Eastern Europe? Because just looking through their squad, like a lot of them come from Eastern European clubs. I don't know if that's just like the level that a lot of them were at when they were recruited. But we have, there's a bunch of Turkey. There's a bunch of Cyprus. I see a Bulgaria. Here's Ludogorets here, Puskas, FCSB, Krasnodar. There's like a lot of that region of Eastern Europe, and I wonder if that has anything to do with the Verdean diaspora, or if that's just happenstance.
I think that's more happenstance. A lot of these guys who are coming from Europe are usually coming from Portugal or the Netherlands. Portugal, for obvious reasons. Netherlands just tends to take in a lot of economic migrants coming from Africa and the Middle East compared to other European countries. So, and I think if you're growing up in those countries, like, you're probably going to look to another country instead of playing in the second tier, because the second tier clubs don't have the finances to be able to offer you good full-time work. Compared to like a France or Germany, where, the second tier.
It's not bad in the Netherlands.
No, like you can still be a full-time professional.
A lot of the Curaçaoan players are in the second tier.
You have the opportunity to move to Eastern Europe. It can be a pretty big pay rise to go to their top flights over there. So I think it's kind of just a little bit of happenstance that just they were recruited and found by Eastern European clubs and able to be offered a little more than maybe what they were getting domestically. That does, since you mentioned players playing in Europe, another one that I wanted to highlight was Jamiro Monteiro, the midfielder. He plays for Zwolle in the Netherlands, 32. And he's like the the kind of heartbeat of the midfield. They look to get him the ball and have him create from the midfield. He's the best passer by far, I think, on the team, and is really who's going to progress the ball for them, right? Like if they're going to get into their build-up play, it's probably going to get to the feet of Montero, and then he'll look to play it either wide left or wide right, and then they'll attack from there. So I think he's probably the key creative piece in the build-up, and then Mendes is who's going to be the creative piece in the final third.
So what's the future beyond for Cabo Verde and football? Are they going to be at the next World Cup? Well, are they going to win AFCON, David? It's a bit of an old squad, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, when you look at this squad, it's kind of hard to see, this not being the peak of this group. They are pretty old, and countries that rely on their diaspora can be a little hit or miss, with some of their generations, because you're not getting that like consistent development domestically, which it's never really going to happen for them. They're very small countries, so you're not going to be expecting large amounts of funding going into building players domestically. You're going to be a little reliant on clubs in Portugal and the Netherlands discovering these talents and nurturing them, and then them not being quite good enough to play for those teams. So they're happy to come back and play for Cape Verde. So it's probably not going to be a country that sees like consistent World Cup appearances, consistent AFCON, runs, or even appearances necessarily. But I think you just got to take it in with the moment, because it's a great story. This in itself is a great team that has already had a pretty high level of success with the 2023 AFCON run. And if this is where they peak, this is a great peak.
Yeah, they'll definitely need fresh recruitment. The good news, though, is that your nation appearing in the World Cup, even if you're born and raised in another country, if you have the opportunity to represent that team, suddenly a little bit more enticing, isn't it? Especially when you're traveling to somewhere like Cabo Verde to hang out on your international breaks. That's not so bad.
That is a much easier sell than a lot of other countries. And they have some guys who are playing at like a pretty decent level who are on the younger side. So Arcanio is at Vitória de Guimarães. João Paulo at FCSB is only 28. He'll be around for the next cycle. Livramento is at Casapia. He's 25. That's a solid, team in the Portuguese pyramid. So they have some decent options of players who will definitely be around for the next World Cup cycle, but they're going to have a lot of replacement parts that have to kind of come in for these more elder statesmen of the team.
And Vizinha be their Buffon
and just start, right?
Play till he's 60?
Yes. I assume he's going to be the starter forever.
If he plays like that.
Yeah. I mean, why bench him? Why would he retire if he can play this well? The last time Vizinha played before this World Cup was March 26 against Chile, when he put up a 3.7 rating. And then the last game before that is before FOTMOB tracks his data. So it's over a year. That's the only game he played in a year filling up for this World Cup.
Wow. Incredible story. That's just the stuff that makes you love the World Cup, It's terrific. Anything else you've got for us on the Verdeans?
Got to wrap it up with our cheers to Bubista, who's built he's
gotten a lot of cheers.
Yeah, but he's built a great squad, and he deserves the cheers.
And he's, that nation through and through, born and bred. I'm not sure he's ever managed off the island. I think that he managed local clubs and youth teams, I believe. So he certainly is deserving of it. He's built an incredible program here. And not only that, he's proven himself pretty damn tactically astute, being able to outmaneuver African powers like Cameroon to get here, and then finding a way to shut up shop in a way that spoils Spain's debut. Not just any Spain, one of the best teams in the world. So that's kind of miraculous. Go watch them play Uruguay. Enjoy it. Enjoy the vibes.
Cheers.